Everybody is using a mobile phone today. We're all using e-commerce today. All these are products of space science.
Really?
Yes, because the space science gives you the navigation. And it's only through navigation that you can get to where your customers do your delivery through.
Yeah, hello and welcome to Just Africa on South News Television. Here we break down trends, spotlight opportunities, and tell the African stories differently. Yeah, being a new week, I don't know if you know that when we think about space science, satellites, and ocean data, it's easy to imagine distant or abstract technology. But the truth is, these tools are already shaping our everyday lives, from predicting floods and droughts to tackling illegal fishing, mapping cities, protecting coastlines, and responding faster to disasters. Across Africa and the world, space science and geospatial intelligence are quietly becoming some of the most powerful problem-solving tools of our time. They help governments plan smarter, businesses operate more efficiently, and communities prepare for risks they can no longer afford to ignore. I am Omevi Idolor, and this is Just Africa on South News Television. And I don't have to do this alone. I have Emmanuel Amulu in the studio with me. Hello, Emmanuel.
Hello, Omevi. Good afternoon, Lagos. Good afternoon, Africa. Good afternoon, Nigeria. And here again, we're another interesting conversation we're going to have today on the show. It's been a very interesting weekend, but a lot of events is happening. Some of them have to do with the environment. Some of them have to do with, the weather. And it rained, I think, last Thursday that almost turned Lagos to somewhere that we'd never realized again. But these are part of daily activities that, as we're going to find out in our conversation today, many of them are not always backed up by quality data that you can use to make decisions and references, because many people didn't predict that rain, for example, and it rained a lot of plants. Many people got to work very, very late, and it exposed so many environmental flaws. Perhaps if we had accurate data, we would have been able to predict it and, of course, know how to maneuver it. So in our conversation today, we're able to uncover some of these conversations.
Yes. Today we explore how data from space and sea is being transformed into real-world solutions, just like Kamulu said. So how can satellites help farmers grow more food? How does ocean data protect livelihoods along our coast? And what happens when science, technology, and policy finally work together? This is not science for scientists alone. This is science for people, for development, and for the future. Our guest is Dr. Ayorinde Kappo. I hope I pronounced that well. So Dr. Ayorinde is the Chief Scientific Officer and Head of Natural Resources Management, COPAN. That's a NASRDA, and an international ocean expert, IOC UNESCO. So Dr. Ayorinde is one of Nigeria's foremost experts in satellite remote sensing and Earth observation. He brings over a decade of practical and scientific experience in applying space science to real development problems. As Chief Scientific Officer at NASRDA's Cooperative Information Network, that's COPAI, and an international ocean expert with UNESCO. We didn't just bring in a small boy here.
No.
It's Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission. He has worked extensively across land cover analysis, climate vulnerability, flood mapping, soil and mineral suitability, fisheries, limnology, ocean monitoring, coastal change detection, public health. Oh, should I go on?
No, it's okay. It's okay. The title is plenty.
Dr. Ayorinde, welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, when you see, Amolo, when you see him from outside, you will not know this is the person.
Yes, like the title, see all the things that he's knowledgeable about and has been involved with. Welcome so much, sir, to the show today.
The pleasure is all mine.
How was getting to this stage, sir?
Very simple. We actually use space technology.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go straight into our conversations. Okay. Most times when people hear space science, from like what I read in my introduction, people think of abstract technology. People think of it's out of the world. So when we talk about space science, when we talk about geospatial science and the likes, what does that mean? How do you explain that to the average African that is watching right now?
Space science is simply science from space. It's simply the science of where. When we talk about space, space is location. We're looking at it here. So anything that has a locational space is space science. Like I was mentioning that coming here, I didn't need to travel. I didn't need to start asking where I was there. I simply went to the app, the Geospatial app, the Google Earth, which you all know. Just checked the place I was going to, gave me the direction, and it was easy. So that's how simple space science is.
Wow. So it's not something that we need to be so scientific about.
No, you don't.
It's just something that can help us in basic day-to-day decision making.
Basic day-to-day decision making.
The truth is, when we hear science and space, well, I don't know. Maybe you have to correct me. I'm not so knowledgeable about how many Nigerians have been out of space. Right? I know you're mentioning when we're having a conversation offer that there's a Nigerian that's at least crossed one of the spheres, otherwise hemisphere or one of the spheres. But because we are not so familiar with space technology, many of us do not even know the kind of questions to ask and how to solve our problems. How do you navigate around this knowledge gap?
The knowledge gap is an situations just like this, coming out to give advocacy, to educate people on what space science is.
Okay.
Let them see it, the breakdown, and actually look at it that there are even things they are doing subconsciously every day that they don't know. Everybody is using a mobile phone today. We're all using e-commerce today. All these are products of space science.
Really?
Yes, because the space science gives you the navigation. And it's only through navigation that you can get to where your customers do your delivery through. So the Jumia we are using today, the Kunga we are using today, the Udal that started earlier on, if they started earlier in 2015, they did a drone delivery. It was more of a promotional thing, but a drone delivery. But some state governments are actually now using drones to deliver key medical equipment, supplies. Like Kaduna State, Cross River State and Bayelsa have a partnership with Zilpin, where they use it to deliver blood vessels, blood samples, drugs, and even vaccines to very hard to reach remote areas. So those are areas where they're already using the space science.
I have a geospatial science. It's geospatial science intelligence, because we're actually trying to link everything together.
The thing is that they are actually all the same thing.
Okay.
We call it geospatial science because it has now moved from just the normal science to utilizing it, to deriving information, useful insights from it. And that's what it calls it geointel.
Okay.
And that geointel can go in all aspects of the economy, business, agriculture, security, defense, climate monitoring, environment, just name it.
Wow. So wait, when you talk about geospatial intelligence, right? You've worked on land, because we're reading out your data. You worked on land, you worked on sea, you worked on space, literally everything. Where does it converge? Where do they meet? Or how does geospatial intelligence help you cover all these?
Geospatial intelligence cover everything because the information which is derived, the useful insights which is derived from all these areas using the space technology is the product of the geospatial intelligence.
Wait, we understand what's maybe break it down. What is geospatial? Because I look like I'm throwing jargon.
Geo is space. Geo is space.
Geo is space.
And everything which you mentioned, land, water, sea, are all in space.
Okay.
So anything that is space is geo.
Okay.
The intelligence now is the information we derive
from all these places.
From all these places.
Do they teach these things in school?
Yes, they teach it in school, but you also have to develop yourself. Everything cannot be learned. But there are knowledge, there are books around it, there are YouTube videos around it, there are trainings, MOCs, mass online open courses that you can learn all these things too. Now, and some of them you learn from experience.
Now, when we talk about space and geospatial intelligence and the likes, we understand that, yes, people like you tend to get data from this kind of places. How useful are those data to the average African? Why should an average African care about satellites?
He has to care about satellite because first and foremost, you know that the higher you are, the more view you're able to view. And that's why the higher you are, the more view, more coverage you're able to take. And so imagine a satellite that is over 600 kilometers above. You can imagine what it will snap.
Okay.
So, yes. So, and the beauty of the satellite is that it can take a synoptic view. We have some satellites, high resolution satellites that can take up to 20 kilometers at once. So imagine what 20 kilometers, just a single scene. Now, if you have to use that with a camera, now you're limited on how you can do it. Now, there are other satellites that can snap 150 kilometers. And when you look at it, that from Tollgate to Ibadan is about 110 kilometers. You can imagine what you see in just a simple scene. And the beauty of satellite is that it is consistent. So it's programmed in such a way that if it snaps a picture by 2 o'clock, if the revisit period is 3 days, every 3 days it will snap that same picture. So you can have continuous monitoring.
Yes. Oh wait, look, the truth is, I am fascinated having to share a table with you, right? Because most of what you're saying kind of like feels very alien. But you talked about having to learn a couple of things on your own, right? Especially in terms of geospatial intelligence. If you were to explain what you do, because you worked in UNESCO, you worked in design, if you were to explain what you do to a common person on the street, like a market woman, an Okada, and okay, this is what I do, how do you explain that, break it down for them to understand?
Well, for a market woman, I will simply tell her that what we do is that we use satellite data to help her map out the fastest way in which she can get to her destination, to help her map out areas where she can live and be free of flooding, to help her map out areas where our markets can sell most due to the fact that you have more settlement population there.
Wow. It's like, the truth is that so many things are going on right now in this space, and I'm like, we really been living this life, but we didn't even know.
Yes.
Right? And now let's break it down to solving real problems, right? You talked about flooding. Is it that we don't have enough of you people so that we avoid places that will regularly flood and we do the warnings? Or we just have the data, but we don't know how to interpret it?
We can interpret the data. So the flooding comes from the rainy season. And here in Nigeria, we are at around the equator.
Yes.
And so the water flows from up the northern Sahel countries, Niger and what have you, down here, all trying to enter the Atlantic Ocean.
Yes.
So over time, they built dams to control this water and also for irrigation and for hydroelectricity.
Yes.
But when the rainy season comes, this water starts building up. And at all these different dams, it starts getting to a level whereby they must release. Naturally, there's always a release. It's a constant release. But as the water is increasing, it does not meet the rate of normal release. So they have to open up the inlets, the outlets more, so that more water comes out. And because of the force in which it's coming out from, it's going to come down to the south here. So areas along the floodplain are going to be affected. Now, naturally, before, you have what you call floodplain, wetlands near this, so that if the water overflows, this wetland serves as buffer. But due to development and increase in population growth, some of these wetlands have been converted. Farmers have started using it based on the fact that the water it's well, and crops grow very well there, and crops like rice that need water and even planting. So they've utilized it there. Then even in urban areas too, people have started building houses there.
Yes.
And water must always find its level. But one thing I like is that the Lagos State government has actually had an agreement with the Ogun water basin that they don't have to wait until that water goes to that level. And so they will be releasing it more constantly. So that by the time the rainy season gets to the peak and water is there, the volume that will be released will not be that much to cause the flood. Another thing has to do with our attitude. I was watching on the TV the other time when the Commissioner for Environment and Waterways went. Somebody built a very fine house and blocked the water channel inside his house.
But someone actually sold the plot of land to that person.
Somebody sold the land to him, but didn't sell the water channel to him.
Point, Jack. Very point. But I don't know.
Nigerians, we have a way of, I don't know whether it's greediness. We want to take more. You see, what you are, when they sell land to you, whether it's 100 by 50 meters or 100 by 26 meters, there's always a setback from the main road.
Yes.
Some feet, maybe 20 or 30 feet. But Nigerians will want to take that area and even encroach on the road. So it has to do with discipline. And that's why our fiscal planning has to do more. Enforce. They have to carry out enforcement and finding of those who encroach into it.
Yeah.
Because the land, if you check the real plot of land we sold, the water channel did not pass there. In fact, his land will be far
inside. But he just chose
he just chose it and brought a major channel, a big channel.
And each time we explain these things that you have built on a water channel, you hear the next thing you hear is but you got approval from the state government. That's what they always claim. But you know that nobody in the right mind would approve a water channel for you to go and build on. Even if the person that gave you approval did not see the land. I'm just saying, did not see the land. You that want to build on it, is it that the common sense does not tell you that water will pass here?
No, the person that ever sold it to you knows that it doesn't follow a water channel because the survey plan, the Surveyor General of Lagos State, they have a general survey plan.
Yes.
So before they give you a land, they must check it, plot it on the chart, and make sure that it falls within that line. They remove all the green areas from it.
Yes.
So that's the plot that they will approve for you. So when you now have that, now you now decide that, okay, this place is open. And that's the thing there.
Just have to add
this place is open. Let me just add it to it.
Oh.
Okay. Oh, now I love the fact that you're explaining this right now. And you've already mentioned some of the preventive methods instead of waiting for disaster to happen. You mentioned the government, the enforcement agency, ensuring that people don't build on those ways. We also get to the farmers' experts on how they can use geospatial intelligence as well. But what are the other preventive methods? Because Africa, we every year in, year out in Lagos, we always face this floods. The government keeps talking, people are talking, but yet we don't listen. So what are those measures or what are those tools? As a scientist, as a geospatial scientist, what are those tools that you think we can use to prevent floods when the rains are much?
Yes. Fortunately, my office actually carried out a project which will map the flood vulnerability of the whole of Southwest. And we looked at it using all the river basins way back up to Edo State. So we're able to map out the most vulnerable areas in where flood occur. So now, the most vulnerable areas flood occurs can be marked as red zones, whereby development is not allowed there.
Yes.
And if I thought they must do development there, then they must also create a separate channel for the water, because the water is actually not really staying there.
Yes.
The water is going
Yes.
to the Atlantic Ocean. But anything that comes in its way,
It takes away.
it takes away. So if they have to, because of development or for whatever purpose, have to build on a flooded area or flood plain area, then they must create a separate channel whereby the water can pass through, so that it will not affect them. And even in their building too, they have to elevate their building up, so that their properties will not be there. Because most of the time, people build houses and by the time water rises, it has covered their place. But if they build on elevated foundations, they will avoid that flood. That one too comes with its own issue, because now that you are building on a flood prone area, you have things like your drainage, your waste drainage. So if you dig it down there, tendency of it to percolate with the water is there. And also, you are also depending on your water too. Most likely you want to do your borehole, because that kind of area, you don't expect the government to pipe water there.
Yes.
So if you put your borehole there, now possibility of the waste in percolating to your borehole affecting your water is also there. So it's a two-way thing that they have to be.
Okay, so sorry, I know Amolo wants to ask you some questions. Geospatial intelligence. How does that help a farmer? Because we are talking about food insecurity right now. We're talking about so many things that, and you also agree with me that agriculture employs millions of people in Africa. How can they employ the services of geospatial scientists and the intelligence to ensure that there is so much food production so we don't go into food scarcity? How do we do that?
Yes, that's a very good question. The geospatial intelligence has indexes where we can map production of food. We can map the extent of the land. We can map the health. There are indices where we can map the vegetation health to know whether the crop is growing well or not. We can use the climate data to predict when the rains before, because when they want to apply their pesticides, herbicides, and so they mustn't do it where there's rain. We can use the terrain data to help them identify areas that have high slope so that their nutrients don't wash off. We can also use the soil moisture index to help them know when the soil is moist enough for them to carry out activities like harrowing, like plowing, for them to grow their crops very, very well.
Wait, your work is plenty. I'm seeing so many things that are possibilities.
Yes.
People who build houses, do they consult people like you?
Well, they don't really consult, or they are more into the builders. Maybe because they don't know our own aspect of
So
the
they
work.
ought to. They
But
should.
they ought to.
Okay, so but then again, I know. I mean, satellite is not something they usually teach us in school. I'm sure I went through all my university. I don't know what the satellite looks like. But can satellites help us to? I know you talked about taking pictures of random days. Can it also help us detect when water is bad? Like an area where water is bad.
Yes.
People like things like desertification.
Yes.
When this place is an arable land, can satellite help us?
Yes, satellite can help. I told you it monitors the trend over time.
Okay.
So the development we're having in the north now
yes.
can be monitored with the satellites to know the trend of how the sun is incursion into the savannah.
Yes.
And so from there now they can decide where they want to plant their trees to curb this instruction. I think there's a project, the Green Wall. Green Wall is still ongoing. China has a similar one, but China's one is actually 2 deserts. They want to block 2 deserts. And they have actually gone very far on it. And in fact, what they discovered was that apart from just blocking it, it's actually regenerated the water, the underground water from the plant itself. So that area now has water. Area that was desert.
That was desert before, yes.
You can now
because
find
of the plants.
Yes,
that
because of the
there.
plants we have there. Therefore, the pollution we're having, especially in the southwest here, we have what we call sedimentary gold. In the north, you have solid golds in bar, but here we have sedimentary gold. Sedimentary means that they are very small, and so you usually see them along the river channels. Now, there's a lot of
south here.
yes, yes, in Oshun, part of Oyo, Oshun, Kwara, and thereabouts. So part of most of the mining are occurring along those riverbeds. Some of the riverbeds are dried up due to climate, but some of them. So when they carry out all this mining, they pollute the water. In fact, there's a particular year whereby the whole water in the Oshun Groove was actually polluted. And the Oshun Groove is a tourist attraction where you have people come from diaspora to come and celebrate with them in the festival. So there was a year that the water was so polluted, it was yellow, that people could not even bat into it. And the celebrants there, they had to now, the people there, the priestess, and had to now start telling people that they should not bother about the color of the water, that the spiritual power of the water is still there.
Yeah.
But those are the kind of things that you can, so satellite can detect that pollution for you on time.
Okay.
So it will help to
Make decisions,
make decisions like the environmental regulation. What they're able to know where this thing is occurring and quickly go there to arrest those responsible.
Okay, so let's move to blue economy. I'll talk about the fish and the rest. How does the ocean data helps protect fisheries, the marine, everything that concerns fisheries? And when it comes to illegal fishing, you're not supposed to fish in a particular ocean and you're going there. How does it help?
Yeah, it helps because one, you can monitor the number of ships. We have satellites that have resolutions that can monitor the size of ship because a ship is quite big.
Yeah.
And so you can see it based on the spatial resolution. So having made the ships are not supposed to fish within the 5 nautical mile. 5 nautical mile is strictly for the fishermen so that they're able to, because of the cost. And that is where the fishes are actually rich. But over time now, climate change, we have seen that the fishes are now migrating because that 5 nautical mile is no more environmentally conducive for them. So the fishes themselves are now migrating into the deeper areas. So whereby there is now clash between them and the industrial fisheries.
At this point, I feel like I'm in school.
You're lost.
I am, to be honest, because in my head, I'm like, when you mentioned 5 nautical miles, I don't even know what he's talking about, right? But these are like data your common fishermen should, accessibly have, right? And then since all these things boils down to the kind of decisions that we make, we can now know, oh, okay, this fish has migrated from one part to another. These are the areas you should avoid for a while so I don't deplete. This information, are they always already available to the common man?
This information, it's available because NIOMA, the National Institute of Marine and Oceanography, It's actually, there was a project they carried out with GMITS. It's an European Union thing. So part of it was to look at the coast. It was a West African thing. University of Ghana was also involved. So they had a bulletin, a bi-weekly bulletin that shows how the trend of the ocean is. So when the winds are heavy in high Richter scales, the conditions are adverse that will not encourage fishing. So this information is passed down to the fishermen, takes information about the temperature, takes information about the productivity of the water, because when the water is actually productive, that's when you have fishes gathering.
Yes.
So it enables them to fish more for less energy cost there. So this project ran on, and they were able to send text messages. But over the time recently, I think they had issues with their telecom provider. So they are trying to now send that information with WhatsApp. So they have selected participants which they are running that information with. That bulletin is no more because the project has finished and there was no funding for it. My organization is trying to see how we can start up that project on its own and have a bulletin so that this information can be passed down to them. The problem we have now is that there's no marine spatial planning in Nigeria. And for you to have blue economy, you must have marine spatial planning, because blue economy is all about sustainable use of the coastal resources for all stakeholders. It's not only for fisheries, for port administrations, for navigation, even for those who are mining sand, for tourism. So when we have a proper marine spatial planning, where we identify areas as spawning grounds, these are where the fishes come to spawn. Because we have different kinds of fishes. We have anadromous fishes that spend their life in the ocean. But when it's time to come and spawn, they come down to the shores here and spawn. So all those places have to be earmarked and delineated so that nobody goes there. Even the fishermen are not supposed to go there. I talked about the nautical miles too. Those ones have to be delineated so that industrial fisheries do not go there too. Then areas for where the sand mining is allocated specially for them. We know that it's only the sand miners that are there, so that there will be no conflict between the activities. So when we have a proper marine spatial planning in play, all this will focus. The way for navigation for which ships will pass will be clearly spelled, so that nobody interferes with each other. And that way we can have a proper, sustainable blue economy that will benefit everybody in the country as large.
Yes, okay, so I'll take you back a little. I want you to make it easy for everyone to understand. When we say illegal, unreported, unregulated fishing, these are terms that people don't really understand. Are we saying when we say illegal, are we saying people from other places are not supposed to come to a particular ocean to come and do the fishing? Or just as Amulu said, maybe a local fisherman or a community or whatever, not the regular fishing of using line and hook anyways, that you are not supposed to go to a certain place? Is that the unregulated? Is there a pattern you use in fishing?
Yes,
So
there's a pattern.
I want you to break that
Yes,
down.
for the pattern, for the coastal pattern, like I itemized earlier, that the industrial fishes are not supposed to fish within the 5 nautical miles. So if they fish there, that would be called illegal.
Okay.
And even among the local fishermen too, they are not supposed to use certain net size, because we expect them to take only table fishes, not the juveniles that are still growing, because that will affect the biodiversity and the reproductive cycle of the fishes there. There's some of them even in the inland side using dynamite. Yes, they use dynamite because when they throw it in,
It damages the ecosystem.
so those are the legal fishes that we'll talk about. And of course, foreign fishing organizations, foreign fishing trawlers are not supposed, they are not registered in Nigeria, are not supposed to go. When they come to our coastal waters, our economic exclusive zone, that is illegal fishing.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow, that's beautiful.
And the truth is, some of these, like I said, they teach these things because, as you're mentioning, it makes sense as you're mentioning it, but I feel like a lot of us not even know that these things are supposed to be the way they are. Because the truth is, you've dropped so many facts, right? And we always see problems arising, especially from the environment that we live in across Africa. And we seem to always want to term ourselves underdeveloped. But from what you said, it feels like the information is there, but we don't seem to use it to solve our day-to-day problem. Why is that so?
The information is there. In fact, there's so much information there. The ISA, Copernicus, has over 3,000 terabytes of satellite data warehoused in the cloud there. So they collect this data regularly. Africa its own has over 67 satellites.
7.
67 satellites.
67?
Yes,
Oh,
satellites.
okay.
think Egypt has the highest, about 15 or thereabout. Nigeria has launched 7. Only one is functional now. Due to the time span, satellites have a short range of time span, especially this low Earth observation satellite. Okay. So the only one we have functional now is the military satellite, which is the Delsat-1. That one was launched in 2022, and that's to take care of the insurgencies and security challenges which we have. Okay. But for the one in which the National Space Research and Development had, that just got deorbited not too long ago, we had the NigerSat-2 and NigerSat-X. Interestingly, NigerSat-X was actually developed by our own scientists here.
Okay.
Yes, NigerSat-2 was developed in partnership with the British scientists there. And it gave us a lot of information. We used it to map out roads. We use it for maritime. We use it for urban planning. We use it for agriculture. We created the first atlas on it with it. And we even mapped out flood vulnerability in it. So we've actually have that. But the problem we're having now is that the government itself has not really incorporated the utilization of satellite. In fairness to them, they have, because the government, the president, has brought the Surveyor General's office under the presidency. Okay. That. And 2, they've now made it compulsory that any project must have coordinates. Okay. Has location. You know, yes. Time past, people just said projects and there was no way to locate them for accountability. But now they have. But what we need to do now is to actually incorporate it in all aspects. Let's treat it as a critical asset. Okay. Not just stand alone. What we're having now is that most of the satellite GIS, geospatial data, are being used for just land. And that's why you have all the states creating different geographical information systems. Lagos has their own, Abuja has their own, AGIS and what have you. But this information should spread more than just land to other sectors. For instance, if you have information about land, government is approving a land for a particular area, extend for development. That same information should be given to the physical planning, the urban infrastructure, so that they can plan for infrastructures to it, knowing that this place has been approved. Definitely there will be need. People will start building onto it. They start coming. So they plan roads, normal infrastructure. They plan the drainage. They plan the water supply if they have to be. This information should also be given to the security, because once you are setting up a new plan, there is need for security. So this information should be passed down to the police too, so that there will be need to establish a police post. Now the Ministry of Education too also have to have this information, because once people settle down, they normally expand with their families, and their families want to go to school. So the Ministry of Education should also make provision for schools for them. Now the Ministry of Health too should also have this information, because as they're expanding, there will be need for health challenge. So a primary health care facility should be set up for it. Then those in charge of energy should also be given this one, because now they need infrastructure. They need to have lights, they need to have transformers, so they need to set up feeders and what have you. So all this information plan. Now agriculture should also have this information, because people are expanding now. Your food needs are increasing. So you need to see how you are going to develop more land to feed this population. And of course, the environment too. They are going to generate waste. How are you going to discharge your waste? Where are you going to set up the waste points? So you can see it's a whole ecosystem. So it's not just a one-stop thing in just for tax revenue, but for proper governance. Even telecom too has to have information. Because
they have to send their network to
they have to send their network there.
Wow.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, the truth is, we often see geospatial intelligence as just a tool for development. But I also see it as something that's very important when it comes to security in Africa.
Yes, it is.
It's very, very important.
It's very important.
So how does it help build security, border management, or border conflict management? How does it help to resolve issues? How do we need it? Because right now there are conflicts here and there, and people crossing borders, people doing as they like, and insecurity is a big issue right now. How does geospatial intelligence come in?
Yes, it can come in because it can map out the routes in which people pass to access the border, their access route, their migration route, and changes in the route too. You can also map out what kind of land cover, vegetation is covering the areas there. So with this all mapped out in Excel, we can actually have a full delineation of our border, know where and where it covers. So when we know the area and where it covers, we can now plan our proper policing for
Yes.
effective border patrol. But the problem we have in the north is that the north is arid, and so it's open desert, unlike the south here, whereby you have vegetation that covers, that serves as a natural barrier.
Okay.
And so you can pass, you are limited to pass through the official channels or some bush paths.
Yes.
In the north, it's open. Everywhere is open. You can have a border post here. All over here is open desert. So somebody puts a post here, this place is open. You can just pass and go. So that's a challenge. But notwithstanding, they are still trying to put some barricades into it and make so with that geospatial intelligence, you can have things like sensors, you can have things like drone mapping, border areas, so that it gives us information on time. And we can also have sensors, Internet of Things trigger sensors, whereby once somebody crosses, it triggers an alarm in the control center, and they're able to go straight to the point because the sensor is located, geolocated. So they don't need to maneuver looking for where the person is. Just go straight to the point and arrest the offender.
But is that really achievable using Nigeria, just like you said about the north now? Is that really achievable? And every other country in Africa that is a little bit like the northern part, let's say Sahara Desert and the
Sahara Desert is the Sahel area is actually a challenge. It's a major challenge because of the nature.
Okay.
But it requires government policy, government good willingness to put in all that is into it. There's no place that cannot be policed. So far it was made into a country. They were able to delineate it into a country and not just. So if government puts enough resources in it and have a joint collaboration, because of the closeness of the border, the nature of it, it's not a one country thing. Once somebody enters into Nigeria, Nigerian security forces cannot go to him. So we need a collaboration, a partnership with them, so that as the thing is unfolding, we're able to alert them. They're able to arrest it on plate.
I have two questions, and they are not similar, but then again, you will find a way to acknowledge the expertise. So, first one is satellites. Are they too expensive that we cannot, since we already have a timeline, once one is about to lapse, we replace it? Because we know these are essentials. They're doing different things for security. They can help us to map out and all that. We had 7. One is only functional. It means there are 6 that could have really helped us to solve a lot of problems. Is it that it's too expensive to maintain or to even build, and why are they not being replaced? And then the second one is our environment is hot, right? Maybe because of our proximity to the Sahel Desert or the Sahara Desert, I don't know. How can this satellite imaging help to help us track some of these things?
Okay. Well, for the satellites, they have different types of satellites. Like I explained, they have their own lifespan. So not all the 7 are meant for the same thing. Some are for communication. Some are meant for communication. Some are meant for Earth observation. So I think the president has graciously approved for 4 satellites to be launched. Yes.
Okay.
And we're going to have the first radar satellite. The advantage of radar satellite is that unlike other satellites that can only take images during the daytime, because the energy source is from the sun.
From the sun, yes.
The radar satellite has its own energy. And so it can take images during day and night and can also penetrate cloud. Problem with observation satellites that once the cloud cover is much, it affects the average. But the radar satellite is able to overcome these encumbrances. Then too, the satellite is an ecosystem. Nigeria cannot have satellites alone to cover you. You have other organizations and companies that have their own satellites too. And they have providing global coverage.
Okay.
And some of these satellites are actually free, like the European, the Asia satellites, which is about 10 meters. It's free. Anybody can go online to it and access it.
Okay.
And it has a refusal period about every 5 days. So that means every 5 days you can get constant information about it too.
So
the NASA satellite too is also free too.
Okay.
You can access it. Where you need cost is when you need high resolution. Satellites that have about 0.5 meters, usually for urban planning and security. That might involve some cost because those are commercial satellites. But for general monitoring of environment, for agriculture, for general planning, these data are actually free. In fact, right now, Nigeria still has part of those images archived that are freely available that you just request for them and can you access them.
Okay, so I wanted to ask, and thank you for the opportunity to ask again. who gets to work as a space scientist? Yes, because right now, every African want to be an AI specialist. But this is an important conversation right now. So how do we build Africans who will turn out to be space scientists, who will turn out to be geospatial analysts, who will become someone who has a very deep knowledge about the ocean? Who are those that can actually work? Because I'm a little actually ask something like that. Do they teach these in schools? Are universities teaching? Do they have departments for all this? And the people they are, if they are, the people that are coming out, are you sure the universities are producing people good enough for this whole thing we're talking about right now?
Well, the universities are actually producing people. After the launch of the Niger SAT-1, in which we give out over 3,000 images to different universities, it led to the setting up of about 15 GIS remote labs. So right now we have over 15 universities offering this GIS remote sensing.
Okay.
Formerly it used to be the discipline of geography departments. But the world is advancing now that they are actually spreading out. So it's no more just only geography alone. Some other departments you're having geoinformatics, you're having GIS and remote sensing, you're having survey. All of them are being integrated into this information. So for those who want to study it as a course, universities are there for them to study. Yeah. For those who want to study it at the postgraduate level, we have an African Institute for Space Science. It's an IFE. They offer it as a PG. We have the African Geospatial Institute. It's a UN institute. They also offer it to there. So all those are in play. But what we're advocating is not just people who will just study it. We want everyday people to utilize it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So you don't need to go out through the gamut of taking a first degree. Yeah. Because there are short courses in which you can just apply. Some of them are online, the mass online courses. Some of my organizations, we organize some training where you can just come for a short while. I've been a facilitator for resource person for the Institute of Public Health of Afemi Awolowo University, where I train all their medical officers during their public M&E. They have a commentary and evaluation program. They do it. It's a 2 weeks program. So I train them the GIS aspect. And I've trained so many in NGOs, NDCC, Ministry of Health, and the likes of them. So just training the basics so that they can utilize it. Because one thing for us to know, get all this data, but we need it to be used.
Yes. So they can make changes.
So what we're advocating is other people in other fields come and have a basic knowledge of it so that you can utilize it. Let it not just be a research thing alone. Be a house in a particular place.
Oh. I know, I mean, we're still in the conversation. That part where I asked you about why our city is hot.
Yes.
I want you to touch about that. And then please explain the latest development about that green wall. Because the truth is the encroachment from the desert is still happening. And some people have alluded to the fact that is why we're having incursion of herder farmers clashes. Yeah. Because where they used to herd before, there are no longer arable grasses or lands for this to eat. Tell us where they are with the green wall, and of course, why are our cities hot? Is it that we don't have enough protection from the clouds?
Well, the green wall, I think they've, to an extent, they've done some planting. They have to plant about 1 million trees or thereabouts. So they are in the process of doing it. But these things take time because before the plants will grow up and what have you. So I think the progress is on. But due to the climate change we're having and the headsmen coming in as a result of the gratification, the green wall might not meet up in time to arrest development for now. Now, our cities are hot is because in the urban areas, we've all taken the likes of building impervious surfaces. When you build your house now, you want to tile everywhere. You want to put broken tiles, you want to cement it. You don't make provisions for gardening. In time past, we used to have gardens, small area and gardens, where we can plant a tree, you can have a small grass. But nowadays, we just cover it up. And so because of that, the water is not able to percolate. And that's another thing affecting our drainage. Water that should have naturally percolated into the ground is now flowing out and overflowing our natural drainages. So we need to plant those trees there. Then our green lands, naturally in every settlement, in a normal plan, in normal town plan, the areas what we call green areas. where people can relax. But not just relax alone, but it's also to trap the heat and also trap part of water. All those areas are being soaked. So people are encroaching onto it. So we don't have that there. So the another thing is that the roofs we are using, the old roofs, they retain heat. So you have to encourage a policy whereby we start using reflective roofs that will reflect the heat. So instead of the heat absorbing into them, let them start reflecting it back. And influence the policy of planting trees. Everybody should be encouraged to plant a tree in front of his house. When you look abroad, you see every house is there, they have trees there. Yeah. It's all to reduce the heat. Because we're creating a lot of heat from our activities here, especially the anthropogenic activities. So we need something to cool it down. Otherwise, our energy costs will still keep rising and will give rise to heat-related disease. There was a time in Lagos, I think earlier this year, they had a heat wave for the first time in history. We experienced heat wave for almost 2 weeks in Lagos. And this escalates heat-related diseases, which will affect our public health. So when we have this kind of natural cooling system, it will go along with ameliorating the effects of this heat wave.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Ayorinde Kappo, for coming on today's show.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate your insights. In fact, so much. Yeah. And I believe our viewers have also learned a whole lot, not one or two. No. A whole lot. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you very much.
What's the meaning of Kappo?
Kappo is my surname.
Yes, what does it mean?
It's actually supposed to be a short form of treasurer. Akakpo.
Akakpo.
Good. We got that. Yeah, today's conversation reinforces a crucial truth. Africa cannot build a resilient future without data. Space science, geospatial intelligence, and ocean monitoring are no longer optional. They are essential tools for climate adaptation, sustainable agriculture, water and mineral management, fisheries protection, public health safety, and early warning systems.